Good morning and welcome to Play and Learn with myself, Dr. Susan. It is delightful to have everybody here today. I don't know whether it's morning or evening. We never know when we're going to show our video. So I just greet you for the whole day, and I wanted to welcome you and know that you are having a wonderful and lovely day. Today we are going to take a look at how and why we are all a masterpiece. I know you've probably gone to museums and maybe had art shows at your school and things like that, that you see all these wonderful pictures and paintings done by what they consider masterpieces. Masterpieces they consider are paintings that are very old and were done a very long time ago. And what I wanted to take a look at today is how a masterpiece is created. It is completed by one person, but that person has many, many experiences in their life to bring them to the moment when they're creating the picture that they've either had in their mind, or they're copying from the landscape, or they're doing the portrait of someone, or any of those things. And they all add to that work or that masterpiece. So we're going to take a look at what that looks like and how that relates to us and how we are actually a masterpiece. So we're going to take a look at a book, and the title of the book is Masterpiece. It is by Mr. J, who's the author, and the artist that did the painting and the pictures is Louise Priez. And the colors in the story are very vibrant. You'll enjoy the colors. So let's take a look at the story and see how that's going to turn into how we create masterpieces. All right? So let's take a look at the story. And here we go. All right, as I said, it's story time. Oh, we have pencils today. How fun. The masterpiece. And as you see, there's some paintbrushes actually on the cover of the book. And it's called One Big Canvas Book. So the whole book is about a canvas, or the piece of paper, or whatever it is you put your painting on. So let's take a look. In the back of the studio, behind lumps of clay, to the left of a canvas where the paint cans would spray on a dusty old table that littered with chalk, the paintbrushes gathered for an artistic talk. The first one to speak was a paintbrush named Reese, who said, "Let's create a grand masterpiece, something with color to fill many pages, to be remembered by all, and to last through the ages." Remember when I talked about the masterpieces that were created a long, long time ago? The paintbrushes cheered and raced to begin, except for one brush who didn't join in. A brush named Estelle sat off to the side and stared at the wall with her eyes opened wide. She rocked back and forth as though in a small boat, and she sang to herself with a single low note. I wonder why. Her single note song, her continuous hum, and the others knew well where this hum had come from. They had heard it before and knew this was her way. Then two went over to ask her to play. They gave her some paint, red, yellow, and blue. "If you'd like to come paint, we'd love to have you." She has such pretty green eyes, and pretty pink hair. So the brushes got started with large, vibrant strokes, painting valleys and lakes, elm trees and oaks. They created a forest with a sleepy brown fox. Do you see the fox in the tree? And one of the hillsides, they painted some rocks. Do you see the rocks that they painted? They all worked together, setting the mood, themes and tones, when they noticed that Brian, he's the yellow paintbrush, had ignored all the others and had not made a sound. He just painted in circles, around and around. They they painted some more and worked well as a team, when suddenly they heard a startling scream. Wow, look at their eyes. I wonder what's going on. They jumped back in shock and turned around to see that one who had screamed was a paintbrush named Lee, who spun all around, shaking all of his bristles as paint hit the canvas like green dotted missiles. Then he made a green splotch, an angry green line, while Reese calmed the others. Don't worry, it's fine. He just can't control it. There's no need to be scared. And the next time it happens, you'll be more prepared. The outburst had ended, and they all settled down and added more colors, pink, purple, and brown. How would you like to paint upside down? The end. And they created a beautiful masterpiece. We're not going to see their masterpiece because we're going to create our own. And I've got to go one more button. There we go. All right. Now, I want to tell you a little bit about the paintbrushes. We had several of them in the book that did different things than the other paintbrushes did. And I don't know if you have any friends or relatives or know someone that has some kind of challenges that look odd to us or different, more different than anything else. And some of these boys and girls and adults have what they have what is considered or called autism. And autism is a neurological challenge that the individuals have, and sometimes they can't control things. And one of the paintbrushes that you saw did the circles, and that was Brian. And he just liked turning in circles and painting in circles. And that's part of what that is. And he can't control it, but he does it, and then it's done. And then he seems and appears just as everybody else does. And then you saw Lee, the green paintbrush, and he had a challenge too. Sometimes he couldn't control his anger or his frustration. And that's some of the other things that happen to people sometimes. And then we also saw Estelle. And Estelle was a person that just kind of was by herself most of the time. And if you invited her to join into whatever you were doing, she would agree and do it with you. But most of the time, if she wasn't with a group of people, she would just hum to herself, and she would just look out the window and observe things going on. So these are some of the things, some of the challenges that some of the people have. And when we meet them, we kind of get a puzzled look on our face and go, what's that about? And sometimes we don't ask, but it's out there, and a lot of people have challenges like that. And some people are very shy, and some people are very nervous or anxious and things like that. That kind of stuff happens to lots of different people. And if it isn't something that we're dealing with, then it seems odd. But it really isn't. It's just another way of being. And as Reese said, the paintbrush, when they heard Lee scream, was, it's okay, he's fine, and he'll be great. He'll be okay. And it does take a few minutes or a little bit of time for that to settle down, and everything is back to what we call normal. There's not a lot of normal, but we'll take a look at that in a little while. But what I thought we would do today that would be kind of fun and interesting is to kind of do a couple of the things that the paintbrushes did. Now, they were creating a masterpiece, and a masterpiece comes from all kinds of ideas. And as he said, they were going to create a masterpiece that would last through the ages. So when you create something, it lasts through the ages. Did you know that? As long as you are, it's here. And then sometimes when we create pictures or paintings or buildings or photographs that people take, and you look back at it and go, wow, the person that took that was so long ago. Some pictures I think you've seen in some of the books you have at school, maybe you have some at home, that pictures are black and white, and they didn't have color. So when photography was originally started, they didn't have colored film. That came along a little bit later. But they made the most beautiful pictures out of black and white. And you could almost imagine what the colors would look like. So that's kind of where masterpiece comes from. You master a particular thing, and you create that thing. And it's a piece of work. It can be work, it can be art, it can be music, it can be all kinds of things. I'm sure you've listened to your grandparents or great-grandparents if you were able to if you were lucky enough to have that in your family, have them around when you're young and around and here, is that you hear music that they're playing and they're going, what kind of music is that? Where'd that come from? Well, it was the music that was played when they were young. And that's a masterpiece. It's remembered through the ages. So it doesn't matter how old you are or when you create this, but it is your masterpiece. It's all of the thoughts and the feelings and the experiences that you have that bring that to the creation that you're creating. And maybe Lee, at one particular point in time before he started his picture, wasn't feeling very good or was upset about something, and that made it, maybe the paint wasn't brushing the way it wanted to. He wanted it to, and he was mad about it. And sometimes there's people that are sad and stuff like that. But these are our emotions, and they're part of who we are, and they make us a masterpiece. Everything that we think, we say, and we do becomes us. And as it does, it creates that opportunity for us to be very special, to do something very different. It's like if you were here, I could give each one of you one of these little canvases that look like this, okay? I could give each one of you one of these, and I could say, create a masterpiece, and let's see what it looks like. And by the time we finished in like 15 or 20 minutes, we could all hold up our masterpieces, and they'd all be different. None of them would be the same, which is what is wonderful about us, is that we are individual masterpieces, and you can't find a copy of us anywhere. There's only one of you, no matter how many other people you meet, or if you happen to look like somebody, or if you have a twin, you're still an individual masterpiece. So we're going to create some of the things that the paintbrushes did. And one of the things that they started out with is they decided that it would be, we needed a blue sky. So I'm going to use my paints that I brought today. And if you have paints and stuff that you have at home that's easy to grab and get to right this minute, go ahead and create a masterpiece. So we're going to lay in some blue, and we're going to create, I'm going to add a little bit of water to it so it spreads it out. It doesn't take quite as long to dry. But we're going to do blue sky. And this is a light blue, so the sun must just be rising because it makes the sky look bluer or lighter in color. So now be sure you protect the surfaces you're coloring on, okay? And, you know, I didn't pack a brown. Isn't that interesting? I didn't do brown. So we'll have to create a different kind of a landscape at the bottom. I guess we could do that with green, huh? I think green and yellow make brown. I'm going to try that and see if that actually works. Shall we try that? We got a little here. And let's see, I think it's green. If I remember from my art classes, I think green and yellow make brown, but I'm not sure. No, it makes like an olive green. That wasn't right, but that's okay. Doesn't matter. So we're going to, then this other one is, I'm just going to do circles, who is it? Brian. Brian made circles. Brian did circles. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to put my brushes in here as I finish up with them. And I'm going to go and mix the other green in there. I'm just going to kind of do like a tree. Because then they talked about a tree, right? And that can be very different. And, you know, some people that I know that create masterpieces that you see in museums and things like that, they may not have had brown, but you know what? They made pink trees. And the trunks were pink. Now that's different, right? So the trunks were pink. So I'm just kind of, this is kind of like a tree that has drooping leaves, not drooping leaves, but hanging leaves. So I'm going to put that there. I have to wash my brushes out as I work on them. And so they said they did a fox. I'm not really good at drawing foxes, so I think we'll do flowers if that's okay with you. I'm going to create some different kinds of flowers. How about some daisies? We can do some daisies like that. And the other things that Reese was telling everybody, I'm assuming he was kind of like the head paintbrush, was telling everybody that even though someone does something a little different than you do, maybe behaves in a different way or speaks in a different way, that they're really okay. That's just how they are. And if we go to understand and know that that's just the way they are, then we are able to put green in the center of that. There we go. There's a yellow flower. Needs a stem, huh? But we can do a stem in a lighter green. Or we could be really different and just do it in a different color altogether. So this is kind of my masterpiece, and I know that you can create wonderful things too. Another thing that is kind of fun to do is if you have a lot of rocks in your yard. Do you have rocks in your yard? And if Mom has acrylic paint, that's what these are. This is acrylic paint, not watercolor. Is that you can take the rock and you can paint a picture on the rock. And then once it dries, you can put it in your garden, which is really pretty. I have some in my garden. Some of them are bright blue and yellow and orange, and they sit in a little pile of rocks like this. And I have a meditating frog that sits on top of them. So I just thought that was kind of cool to have a meditating frog in the picture. So we're going to do other little flowers over here. But whatever we create is unique unto ourselves, and it also makes whatever we do very special, because every person, no matter who you are or how old you are, doesn't matter, has something very special to give and to be. So the paintbrushes, the three of them that had little challenges, it offered things about who they are. So we're going to add some, we're going to give these guys yellow stems. So we'll kind of put those in there, like that. And because it didn't do brown, what should we do as that? I have a different colored green. Let's do that. We'll add some more green to it. So when you create and you make a masterpiece, or you create something that you really enjoy doing, I don't know how many of you boys and girls like to go out and collect like rocks and things like that. And you can make sculptures out of rocks too, if that's some of the things you enjoy doing. But you can make sculptures just by stacking the rocks together. And I've done a couple of when I've gotten little tiny rocks, like pebble size, like little rocks about like that. And then there's a special glue you can get. You have to ask your mom and dad about that. And you can actually glue your rocks and make sculptures. And that can sit in your front yard too, or your backyard, depending on where you'd like to have it. But you can do that also with paint, and to create all kinds of fun stuff that you can do. So I think our red flower needs a little bit of a yellow in the center. So we'll just dab some yellow in there, just a little bit of dots. But I think in the story, Reese was, I guess, the oldest paintbrush, and he was helping the younger ones create the different pictures. But the thing about it is that he was aware of some of the other paintbrushes and their challenges that they experience. And he was able to help the other brushes that were there that were helping create this masterpiece, he was able to explain to them what the challenges were, and that it was they were all okay, they were all just fine, but the wonderful thing they created was absolutely beautiful. It's just like anything that you create. Some people may look at it and go, and that's okay, because that's just their opinion. The opinion and the ideas that you put down on the canvas, as we're doing on this one, is a picture of who you are. And that picture, one of the things that I love is I love the, get my thin brush again. I love plants and trees and things like that. And the stuff I work with most of the time is fabric. And that's a whole different kind of feel that you get. So we're going to give these some definitions in the leaves. And I don't know why I didn't bring brown, but I just didn't. And that's all right. We just get to be creative in doing other things. So we got some other leaves in our tree here. So some of the things that you might create at home, have you ever seen or gone to a building and someone has painted beautiful things on the inside? They may have taken the wall and done, like one of our members, Tracy, she does murals. She paints the most beautiful things on walls that people like to have in their house, and that's the decoration on their walls. So paint and artistic work and things like that can be that kind of a thing on a wall that stays for a really long time. And the other thing that I know I've seen, I've never tried any of it, but is to create with metal. They have metal sculptures. You can go to different parks and museums and see these metal sculptures, and they're absolutely amazing. You can see the different things that they have that you can use, and they just are really beautiful. Have you ever gone on a playground and really enjoyed the equipment that's on the playground? Do you know that that's a masterpiece by some designer and some people that work in metal and do that kind of thing? They've created that. That was their masterpiece, is they created equipment that we can play on, like swings and slides and jungle gyms and things like that. And it's absolutely wonderful that we have people who enjoy those kinds of things, because otherwise we just have sand and stuff to play with instead of all the cool stuff that they have on the playground. That's another one of the ways that people are artistic and create lovely things for us to look at or to play on and things like that. There's also another form of art that I'm sure some of you know about, and I'm sure some of you enjoy doing it too, is cooking. Do you know that cooking is an art? That's another one of the ways that you can create masterpieces. Of course, people eat it, but that's all right. It's absolutely beautiful to look at and lovely to eat. But that's also another way to create masterpieces. And they take pictures of the food before people eat it so that they have, evidence of what was created. But that's another way. There's absolutely beautiful things that people create that we enjoy eating. So and you've seen all those pictures in the magazines and on televisions of hamburgers and all those other things and how pretty they look. That's another way that people create masterpieces, is they take pictures of the food for advertising and magazines and places things like that. That's another one of the things that people do. That is another way to see and to create unique things just for them. And our storybook today was solely about the masterpieces that the paintbrushes created. And I think that was very special. The book is a cool story, and it shows us that art and all that stuff comes from all kinds of things. I'm just putting little pink things here. I don't care what, you can consider whatever they are. Little flowers, going on top of the grass, like that. But the paintbrushes in the story and the colors that they used, and you looked at the masterpiece of the book's a masterpiece too. People write books and they do stories, and that's how a lot of ways in which we learn about what our world was like before we got here. I know there's pictures of when paleontologists go out and they find bones and things of that nature that lived a very, very long time ago, and they put them together so that we can see what was here before we were. And you could create a masterpiece, a picture, a drawing, a sculpture, a building, any of those things. And that could be something you leave to history, that you leave behind, that tells the world about something about you and about the things that you've experienced and you've done. I know that as you go through your experiences in school, you may in the 5th or 6th grade decide, oh, I want to be an architect. You know, that's designing buildings and things of that nature, and furniture and all kinds of things. And that's something you want to do. But by the time you get to high school, maybe you're a senior, you decide, that isn't what I want to do. I want to do this. And maybe you want to be an athlete. And that's something that you're really good at, maybe baseball or basketball or one of those other sports. And that's the way that you express yourself. When you play a game of basketball or baseball and you work as a team and create this wonderful, exciting experience for people to come and watch, you're creating a masterpiece at that particular point in time. So we always have the opportunity to be who we are and express the things we want to express. And painting is one. There we have a flower masterpiece and a big bush. But it's another way of expressing. You know, this isn't my favorite way of expressing, but I do like to play with it every once in a while. My favorite way of expressing is with a sewing machine and material and creating all kinds of fun things like that. That's the way I have it. And the things that you can do and the ideas that you have and the ways that you change as you get older and you try new things. You can sculpt out of clay and make the big, huge, like Michelangelo. That's the white marble, man, I believe it's in Europe somewhere. I don't know exactly, I don't remember where, so I don't want to tell you if I'm not sure. But anyway, that's out of marble. Can you imagine that? How you'd do something like that? That you'd make an underform and then you'd create around that. But sculpturing, that's another way of thing. And when we're kids and we're little, we play with all this stuff. And at some point in time, it may just spark something very important to you. And you go, this is really what I really like doing. I'm going to do more of it. And then as you get more and more interested in it, then your skill and your talent and everything else begins to form, and you're able to do these amazing things. But again, that's you. That's the important masterpiece of who you are. And in the story, these paintbrushes, like there were 7 of them, they created this lovely masterpiece, this beautiful picture that they know will be remembered for a very long time. And the author and the artist that did the book is going to be something that is remembered for a very long time. I'm just going to show you really quickly. I don't know how you're going to be able to see it, but we're going to try anyway. I didn't ask Greg to do this particular page, but I'm going to hold it up. So there is the picture. I think you might be able to see it, of what they created. Where there's the trees and the hills, and there's the fox that they talked about. So all of these, and there's a sailboat and a lighthouse with a circle from the light, and all of those things that the paintbrushes created. Well, the paintbrush, you know, is Luis Perez, and he's the one that actually created these pictures. But the idea came from, and I think I have pictures of the gentleman. I think I'll show you, because it's just amazing. And then also, I'm going to show you this picture, this page really quick. This is the 4 people that it took to create this story. because this is Mr. J. He wrote the story, and this is the artist. And these two people were the people that talked with him and told him about different things that happen in people's lives and different challenges that people may have that fall under the title of what you call autism. So these two people were kind of the educators of helping create this story. But it took these four people and Mr. J to create this wonderful book and that picture that you saw at the last. So as we grow and as we create and do different things, just remember that everything you do, even if someone else doesn't appreciate it as much as you do, the one that it's important is you. If you appreciate it and you enjoy it and you love it, that's the important part. Other people that see it and love it too is great, but remember, the masterpiece comes from you because you're already a master in creating whatever you create each and every day. So this week, as you head out into the world, create beautiful things. From your smile to the way you speak with people, the actions that you take, you're making a difference and you're creating your masterpiece. So enjoy your week, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye.